Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Zach's Tech Talk Tuesday podcast. My name is Ryan McQueeney, and today we are going to chat about the latest smartphone news, specifically the latest smartphone news from Samsung and Apple, as some headlines in this space involving these two companies have piqued my interest ahead of the holiday shopping, gadget-friendly season. Definitely, smartphones I think are one of those things where it's not necessarily something you do always get at the holidays, but so something like a company like Apple definitely times their releases to line up with the holidays, and it makes sense as a gadget you'd pick up over the winter holidays for sure. We'll touch on Samsung actually with some releases coming early next year that are going to miss that holiday shopping season, but I think the latest cool tech stuff is certainly on everybody's radar right now with the holiday shopping season around the corner. And as a US-based tech fan, Samsung and Apple are the two smartphone makers most on my radar. Samsung is of course the top dog in the world, holding about 21% of the global smartphone market share. And of course, the South Korean company's flagship Galaxy smartphone line is marketed very well here and abroad. Definitely incredibly popular here in the States and around the world. And then Apple actually trails China's Huawei for second place. It's in third right now, got overtaken by the Chinese manufacturer, I believe this past summer. But of course, the iPhone line is one of the most dominant brands we have ever seen in the smartphone business, a pioneer of the smartphone, and continues to be innovative and kind of a bellwether for the smartphone industry to this day. So what's the latest for both of these companies? We're going to start with Apple, which saw its stock slide once again on Monday, really underscoring its post-earnings sluggishness. And this time it's feeling pressure due to one of its suppliers. So this story has all to do with Lumentum Holdings, an Apple supplier that makes the 3D sensing components Apple uses in Face ID and its augmented reality systems. So the big issue here on Monday was a profit warning, guidance cut, whatever you want to call it, from Lumentum. The firm said current quarter sales would come in about $20 million lower than it expected, and it also cut earnings guidance to just $1.15 per share to $1.34 per share, and that was down significantly from the $1.60 to $1.75 range it had previously announced. So definitely not good news for Lumentum Holdings, and that key relationship with Apple had people, putting the pieces together, if you will. Some commentary also from the company's CEO, Lumentum CEO Alan Lowe. Quick quote here. We recently received a request from one of our largest industrial and consumer customers for laser diodes for 3D sensing to materially reduce shipments to them during our fiscal second quarter for previously placed orders that were originally scheduled for delivery during the quarter. So the key there in that quote is materially reduce shipments and one of our largest industrial and consumer customers. So Apple is not named in that comment, obviously. Apple not named at all during this kind of guidance cut or profit warning. But people, as I said, put the pieces together, connected the dots. In Lumentum's most recent annual filing, it listed Apple as its largest customer, and it accounted for 30% of its revenue. Analysts quickly jumped on this and said, this is probably about Apple, and this is probably about the iPhone 10, and the latest iPhone 10s and R updates. Wells Fargo said investors should consider Lumentum's updated guide as reflecting as much as a 30% cut in Apple orders. Bank of America had a bit of a more optimistic stance, saying this order revision could reflect things like inventory build or an earlier start to production, which would mean it doesn't necessarily directly tell us about what the latest iPhone 10s and R sales are. Bank of America also pointed out rightfully that the iPad Pro now features Face ID, the new iPad Pro. So this could reflect, sluggish performance in iPad Pro and not necessarily in the iPhone line. Of course, if we're just talking about Apple as a company, that's still not great news that the iPad Pro isn't selling very well. But in terms of, this smartphone news and what's the latest in the smartphone industry, maybe this isn't actually as revelatory as early reports or early thoughts suggested. That being said, we already had some question marks about iPhone X sales. When we remember last week, we had the Nikea report that said Nike. I don't think I've ever announced that publication's name right. Sorry, you guys, if you follow the show, know I have basically dyslexia when it comes to pronouncing publications' names, but I do my best. Anyway, we had a report from them last week saying that Apple was pulling back plans for additional production lines on soft demand for the iPhone XR, which of course is the lower cost version of the phone that was released or announced in the same wave last month. We'll remember the iPhone X last year, the big anniversary edition was paired with the iPhone 8. So kind of continuing that trend where they're announcing this bigger update, the full top of the line phone, and then also giving you a less expensive option. We can phrase it like that. But what we were kind of putting together from that report that it was pulling back plans to on additional production lines was that maybe the iPhone XR wasn't selling so well, because we also got some indications that it was actually calling for more orders for the old iPhone 8. So I guess people are looking at the options that are presented to them in terms of cost and functionality, and they're going, okay, well, the iPhone 8 is now even less expensive than the XR. I'm fine with that for now. I think, I don't want to splurge on the top of the line new iPhone XS. The 8 to me, hypothetical customer, the 8 to me is a better value than going for the XR. So, I thought it was always an interesting move for Apple to continue this low cost option, going with like kind of two phone reveals at once. And it made sense to me because I feel like when the iPhone X came out, it was like, okay, is this really the new baseline for new Apple phones? Are we really going to be shelling out $1,000 at least for phones now? Is that the new norm? And Apple kind of saying, yes, if you want our top of the line device, but here's another option. So certainly an interesting move there, but perhaps one that is not sticking quite as well as Apple had hoped, maybe had planned originally. Who knows? But with the Lumentum Holdings warning yesterday, we had kind of more worrying news about iPhone X sales, and that's now a couple headlines in the last couple weeks. It's really kind of underscored this post-earnings volatility we've seen in Apple. Guidance was just a little bit lower than what people wanted, and some question marks heading into the holiday shopping quarter for Apple and for the iPhone X line overall. But it's still a powerhouse. As I said, it's still a dominant line, still something where we expect the holiday shopping period to be strong overall, and that should work its way into Apple's results as well, at least to some extent. Now, moving into the Samsung news that I wanted to talk about here, we finally got an indication of price and release date for Samsung's new foldable touchscreen smartphone. So I wanted to talk about this because this is cool, first of all, in my opinion. It's kind of weird. It's kind of new. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of exciting for the smartphone industry, for a legitimate manufacturer like this to be debuting a foldable, multiple touchscreen smartphone device that's going to be able to have you expand out to basically tablet size on the screen, but also fold it up and put it in your pocket. It really shows how powerful this technology has gotten, how compact we've been able to make these things. But it's not going to be a marquee device. It's not a flagship, top of the line. Here's our latest Galaxy phone. It folds. It is going to join the Galaxy line, apparently, as we'll get into in a second. But it's going to be obviously a little bit more niche than that. And of course, it's been rumored for a long time. If you follow this smartphone space, I feel like, at least the past year or so, I've been hearing rumors about this Samsung foldable flip phone, touchscreen. What's it going to look like? How's it going to work? Finally, Samsung started teasing it over the past few weeks, and then even more finally, officially acknowledged its existence last week. I won't say it was quite a reveal or an announcement, but acknowledged its existence officially. Kind of at an event, showed it on screen, but it was darkened. Like, I would recommend going to look at the video. It's kind of funny how they teased it. They didn't quite put it in full light. You couldn't quite see what it looked like, but you could see that it was opening up and flipping and whatnot, folding or whatever you want to say. And they also called the foldable phone technology itself the Infinity Flex display, and revealed some key details about it. As I said, folds up to fit in a pocket. The cover display is going to be the acting as the phone part of it. And then it's going to have this main 7.3-inch tablet-sized display as well when it folds out. As I mentioned, kind of full tablet size. Even crazier, it's going to be able to have 3 apps running at the same time. It's a new technology that Samsung is calling multi-active window. And then Samsung also said mass production of display is going to begin here in, quote, a matter of months. We've also heard from management that it's hoping to ship 1 million foldable devices in 2019. So that's what we know officially. But what I wanted to cover today was some rumors, some gossip, a report that we got on Monday from a company or a news agency, Yonhap News Agency. It's a South Korean publication. It released some more leaks. I don't know if it was leaks per se, but gave us some more details about what that timeline might look like and also a price. So here's what those rumors are saying. First, it's saying that the phone is going to be called the Galaxy F. I don't know if F is supposed to be for foldable. That would be quite on the nose there. That it's probably going to be unveiled in March of next year, a full reveal, if you will. And that's going to be shortly after Samsung reveals or launches its next flagship Galaxy S phone. The price point, you thought $1,000 was high for an iPhone 10? Try $1,770. That is what Yonhap News Agency is saying. Could be the maxed out price of the Galaxy F. Also said that while Samsung does intend to add 5G support for the Galaxy S10 in February, the more niche Galaxy F that's going to come in March reportedly will not have 5G support of its own. So 1 million devices might be a bit of a flash in the pan in terms of what Samsung pushes overall, but 1 million of these foldable devices is certainly no small sales goal. So we'll see if that sticks. I think the concern that you have, if you're optimistic about this release for Samsung, the one concern in the back of your head is, what if Samsung is the only thing that thinks this device is cool? And I'll try to phrase that in another way. I guess, as flashy and interesting and exciting as I've described this new flip kind of foldable smartphone to be, there's always the chance that it doesn't quite land with the wider public, at least not to the level that Samsung is hoping, at that 1 million devices goal. We've seen this before, certainly in the modern tech industry. We've seen gadgets attempted to change things up, to introduce a new norm and have them not land at all, really. My mind, when I say something like that, immediately goes to the ill-fated Google Glass project. But, I think one thing that is a benefit this idea, or something that gives it more credence, is that, whereas Google Glass and some of these other, much hyped then ill-fated tech gadgets have tried to introduce something new, really, really new. That's a wearable tech kind of AR type of deal. This is still a smartphone at the end of the day. It fits in your pocket. It's a touch screen. That much of it is familiar to the average person. And, to that point, I think people could be attracted to the niche and buzz around it. But we'll see. So apparently that's coming in March, as I said. And that's really the next few months of buzz here, as we've got the iPhone 10 really taking off, or potentially not really taking off, but in terms of its first holiday shopping season of availability here. And then that will be kind of responded by Samsung's new Galaxy S10 in February, and then, according to these reports, the Galaxy F in March. That's the latest on Samsung and Apple. By the time you're hearing this, there very well could be 3 more major headlines involving these companies. These things change very frequently with 2 of the largest tech companies in the world, of course. But 2 headlines that caught my attention recently, and 2 things I think that say a lot of interesting things about the smartphone market right now. That's going to do it for this episode. Quick one, short one, but touching on some fun gadgets. So hope you enjoyed it. As a reminder, if you feel that we missed something, or if you want us to cover a different story, feel free to shoot me an email at podcast@zax.com. Make sure to check out all of our other audio content at zax.com/podcasts. And remember to subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. We are also available on SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, basically anywhere, Google Podcasts, basically anywhere you can get a podcast these days. And if you go on to your preferred podcast platform and we're not there, definitely let me know, and we'll see if we can make it over there. But as always, thank you so much for listening to the Zach's Tech Talk Tuesday show. We'll see you next time.